Hey, how you doing? Say again?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, that's better.
Yeah, I had a pretty full hangout, and then my power flickered, and I think they're still hanging out in another hangout, and they don't know that.
Another dimension. They're in another dimension.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I enjoyed your the time with Craig.
He's
I
a character. He's great, isn't he?
Yeah. He's done pretty good.
Yeah. It's neat that he has this successful business, and he has this opportunity like Bill Gates does to do what he wants to do and help people and make an impact. I think it's he's what an inspiration he is, and how lucky he is to be in that position to be able to do that.
Oh, very true. Yeah, and also he's been able to stay true to his the ideals that he started with, which is unusual in successful businesses.
Oh yeah. So you're in California as well, I see.
I'm down in Southern California.
Cool. So what's your background? Are you? It looks like retired geek.
Yeah, that's me. Well, I lived in Cupertino for 30 years and then retired and moved down here to San Diego because housing was so much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a consultant. My first computer was a IMSI kit in 1976. So I was there at day one, actually, on the PC side of things.
That's neat. I read what was the book? Hard Drive, the Bill Gates unauthorized bio, and about the whole story of how they did it.
There's one called Fire in the Valley, which is quite a good little book. It was published probably 20 years ago. That gives a pretty good rundown of how it all came about to be. But it's been fun. Now I just sit down here in Southern California and play on my computer, and I just got my first smartphone this week, if you can believe it.
Wow. Yeah, I've got one of my sales reps just got her first smart. She went from a BlackBerry to an Android.
I had a 4-year-old Samsung. It was a Windows phone, but pretty dead. But I got a Samsung Note, the Galaxy Note, which is the big one, and it's outstanding.
Is that that's the one with the pen, right?
With the pen and the 5-inch screen, yeah. And it's outstanding. It really is. And
wait a minute, let me lose you again. Oh, okay, it looks like my video froze, but it looks like it's back.
In and out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I had like I said, the power went out. So if I'm not hanging up on you. It's. Oh
yeah, no, you're solid here at this end. I'm watching my return video, and it's a bit shaky.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Part of it is I'm uploading the show, and it's 70.
It has something to do with it, yeah.
And I'm surprised. I did a regular YouTube upload, and it started at 74%, so it recovered. I didn't know with the regular, like they've got here with Google Chrome, you can uploading large files or whatever. I didn't know they had that built in now, where it was like an auto recover where you left off.
Interesting. I haven't run into that myself, so.
Because it's a big. I mean, it's about 900 megabytes.
Yeah, that's pretty good size.
And sometimes it'll get up to 2 gigs. Huh?
You're uploading it to the cloud.
I'm uploading it to YouTube. It's already on Justin.
Right.
And because they just store it as Flash, so I think right afterward it's available, or very soon. I don't know if there's any processing required. And then, but the YouTube it says about 5 minutes remaining. It's about 80% done. My internet's it's about 10 up and 30 down where I am. So it's pretty good.
10 up?
10 up, yeah.
10 down and 30 down. And usually it's the opposite. You have
I'm 30 down. 30 down and 10 up.
Oh, 30 down and 10 up. Okay, well, you got terrific. I'm down. I'm in the country now, and when I moved down here, 2 years ago, best I could do was 768K DSL.
God, it's like a BBS dial-up.
I had Comcast cable up in Cupertino, so that was the real. And they finally upgraded DSL, and I'm now at 6 meg down and 600K up.
I've
But
got.
unfortunately, the up makes it's not enough really to do much.
Okay. You said you're at like 800 down, and what
I'm
up?
6 meg down, but I'm 6 meg down, but only 600K up. And it's pretty hard to get any video reliably up.
That's kind of like. Plus, it would monopolize your pipe. I mean, yeah, you're doing stuff before you go to sleep, and then waking up and hoping your power didn't flicker.
Yeah, no, it's a real pain in the butt, but it's because I have a sling box that I can't use it here because you can't get it out. The up isn't enough to handle it reliably. Right. Let's put it that way. But and I'm rural enough. We don't have cable or the availability of cable, so there's really no other options. I'm stuck with AT&T.
There's some people who, in our area and in lots of areas, that their only option is dial-up. There is no DSL or cable. And can you imagine these folks? There's some folks who were trying to sell houses, and maybe they've owned them for years or whatever, and they're just trying to sell them. They're moving or whatever, or they've built the house and they're trying to sell it if they're a builder. And they're in an area that doesn't have internet. And of course, this has all changed. 10 years ago, that was no big deal. But now, there's no way in hell I would buy a house that didn't have broadband internet, cable quality internet. So they're stuck with these houses they can't sell.
Where it is rural, and that's, just the way it is. You're giving up, when you move rural, you're giving up something for that. That's part of the equation, unfortunately.
I'm lucky because I live next to my backyard. Literally borders a state park on the Shenandoah River, so there'll be black bear, flocks of wild turkey, bald eagles flying over, all kinds of stuff. But I'm 10 minutes, about 7 minutes from town, and I have a Comcast Business Class, and it's just I've got the best of both worlds. The best thing is if you're in a rural area but you're close to shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still get the benefits, so I lucked out there.
Well, you also need a certain amount of population density, because otherwise the cable companies just aren't willing to put the money out to build the infrastructure, so they just don't bother.
Right.
And that's not going to change, unfortunately. In fact, what I'm running into now, which is quite interesting, and I've seen this happening both with AT&T now and with Verizon on the East Coast, they're not building out their copper plant at all anymore. So if you're in a semi-rural area that's using, DSL, which is mainly a copper product, there's no improvement happening, and nor are they adding subscribers. They've sort of cut the cord now, and if you're out on a DSL, you might be running into problems as the system ages, and you discover that there is no extra copper pair to go to when there's a problem on your line. And
speaking of copper pairs, let me ask you something. I set up a sales. We're expanding our inside sales team, which are folks in the office on the phone.
Sure.
And so I needed to get phone lines for them to call out, and a unique number for them to be called back by a client or a prospective client or someone wondering who called them. And so the way I'm doing it is I got them a Google Voice number, and then I get a Magic Jack for the return call. So they can actually call with Google Voice or with Gmail. They can dial out, and then and then it'll show on their caller ID the number their local number that's a Google Voice number, and then it rings the Magic Jack. And I'm looking at this, and it's absolutely mind-boggling technology because they charge $20 a year for the service,
right?
And I can't imagine why anybody would get any kind of VoIP solution when you can get the same quality from a Magic Jack, especially with the new one, where it's $70 and you can port your landline number over to it now. You don't need a computer even. The new one, you just you plug it into the wall. It's got like a wall wart or something, and you plug your Ethernet cable into it and the phone line, and you don't need. You don't need any. You don't have to worry about your computer's off so you missed a call. It's just amazing. And how they're competing with this, and I can't imagine anybody getting a standard landline now.
Unless you have one. You know, that's my situation. I have one. And I've been looking at VoIP and those other alternatives lately, and, you know, it's not going to save me that much, to be honest. Maybe $5 a month, something like that, because I don't use the landline for hardly anything anyway. It's there.
But with the new Magic Jack, you should check it out. They got them at Walmart, and it's $70, and you could port your your existing number over to it.
Yeah, there's also a unit called the UMA over at you can get it at Costco. That's quite good for that gives you the VoIP. But again,
hi Dan, Mike, how are you?
Hey Gary, what's up, buddy? Good to see you.
I'm doing okay for a Friday night. You know, I heard things about that Magic Jack that it's not reliable. I've had some people tell me that it's not reliable. It's not always working. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
Well, it gets flaky, but I haven't tried the new one. That's the original one was $40, and you have to have your computer on, right? And it plugs in USB to your computer.
Right.
The new one is $70, and it will allow you. Like I was just saying when you were coming in, it'll allow you to port your existing number over to it. It doesn't require a computer.
Oh.
And in this, you can just it's got. I mean, if you go to like their website or whatever, you'll see it. But it's got an Ethernet port and a USB port. And a phone line. So if you don't want to use your computer, you can just plug it. It's got like one of those AC to USB power things.
Right.
So you plug instead of into your computer, you plug it into that, and so you got it literally on a wall jack in your house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your Ethernet and your Cat3 plug, and it's as long as you have electricity, your computer could be off or whatever. Because a lot of users are probably keeping their computer on all the time. Just that.
Yeah, you have to take a look at that. Definitely.
And in the same way that my Vizio TV, the Netflix, is dramatically better on that, on the built-in Vizio Netflix app, it's better than watching Netflix on my computer. Because the computer is a multitasker, right? The TV's isn't.
Right.
Or of course, I guess they're now becoming that way. But I want to try that. My next one, I've got 2 of them now, but when I have to get the third, I'm definitely going to get the fancier one.
Will Hangouts run on a DSL?
They'll run on a phone.
They'll run on it. As
Yeah.
long as you've got bandwidth, that's the key.
You're on DSL now, right?
I am.
Michael, yeah, he's on DSL.
That's not bad. Oh, I'm on Charter, which is pretty fast. But Michael, you look pretty good.
Yeah, I'm only got a 600K up, so that's why you're probably seeing a little fuzziness there.
Yeah, whenever you move, you get a little pixelated.
Yeah, right, exactly. And my down's great, but my up on DSL sucks.
So, Dan, where's Alan tonight?
Alan had a family thing, and he couldn't. He said he would be late, and then the Hangout I think is still going on, the original show Hangout, but my power flickered, and so I think they're still hanging out, and they may or may not know that I've started a new one because it cut off and stopped broadcasting. But we finished the show, luckily. So, and Craig was great. I don't know if you got to catch any of it, but
no, I wanted to catch that. I really wanted to catch Craig. Is that going to be broadcast again later?
Yeah, it's 100% uploaded. It's processing now, and so on my YouTube channel, the same channel that I post the shows, not the Hangouts. That's a different show, or that's a different channel. But it'll be up in a moment. I haven't written the description yet, but you'll see it. It'll just say like MyStream 18 WMV or something. You know what I mean?
It's under your name. The channel's under your name, Dan McDermott.
Daniel P. McDermott.
Okay, that's good. I wanted to hear what he had to say.
Yeah, he was great. He talked. I was trying to keep the focus as much as possible on his new initiative. Instead of, but of course, everyone wanted to ask about Craigslist, and then there were some tech support questions or crazy stuff.
Is he a real techie guy?
He's not.
Yeah.
He's more like. I think he's more techie than he lets on. He's a very humble man. he's done very well. He's in a position where he's lucky enough, as I was discussing with Michael, to be able to pursue charitable things now.
Yeah, it is a nonprofit stuff, NPOs. In fact, I contacted him about his NPOs, getting a project going here that we want to do with an NPO and for the veterans, a veterans advocacy thing we're doing for blind veterans. I don't know if you heard about that yet.
I think he talked about that. He actually does tech support still. You can email him, and he says he gets a few hundred a day. But I would never think to email Craig at Craigslist because I would think it would be, a staff.
I sent him an email, and he answers me within an hour.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, within an hour.
I think it's fantastic. It's one of the top 10 sites in the world,
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, does he have what's his business model? He must generate something out of it, or it must get paid for by someone.
They make money in certain markets like New York, D.C., L.A., San Francisco. They charge for the employment listings. It could be, in some markets it's $75. It's posted now. Let me see.
For a typical single user in California, they don't pay anything to list anything. It's all kinds of free listings on there. It's used a lot.
Yeah.
I think if you post a job listing, they'll charge you.
You can find apartments, rentals, cars, all kinds of stuff.
It's a game changer. It's not. I kidded with him, that his new site was a lot more graphics oriented than Craigslist was, and he laughed because he knows. But just like look at Drudge Report. Drudge Report is a very 1990s looking site, but it gets amazing traffic. It's like one guy, and he's getting billions of hits. Those are the sites that really make money.
What's Craig's new website called? He has a new site?
It's called Craig Connects.
Yeah. Okay, right. I saw that. I forgot. Well, this whole thing is a game changer for medicine and healthcare, too, which has been my profession. Since retiring, I'm spending a lot more time looking at the space. I think Hangouts are fantastic. Be fantastic for patients and families to talk to their families that are in nursing homes or have people check on people. Nurses wouldn't have to go out for a visit. They could do a Hangout. The main thing that's holding it back is security, and I'm trying to figure out how Google could develop a professional kind of version of the Hangout platform that would be a secure HIPAA-compliant thing.
Yeah, that is an issue, and then I got to sneak off camera, but I'll be listening. But
okay,
that's an issue. Like during our show tonight, I invited. What's up, Alan? I invited very specific people because I didn't want it to fill up, and I couldn't get Craig in, and there was another journalist who was iffy on whether he could make it, and so I had to leave some open spots. So I couldn't open it up to public or something because it would have filled up and the regulars couldn't make it. And then once everyone's in, then I open it up, to everybody I can. But one guy was in there, and he's not in my circles. He hasn't circled me. He only had one person who circled him, and he had circled 5 people. So it looked like a new thing, a new profile. There was no information about his profile, and he got in that on-air hangout.
He must have grabbed the URL off the top from somewhere, because you get that URL, you can go anywhere.
Oh, right. And you're allowed to do that. Chi-Chu, we did a hangout with him, and I asked him that question. I said, you're not allowed to invite on an on-air hangout. You can't invite public. That's not an option. You can invite your circles and your extended circles, and that's it. Or specific circles or people, but you can't, that public option's not there. And so I said, is there anything wrong? Can you get in trouble if you kind of bypass that and just on the public player put in the first comment, hey, if you want to join this, click here. And he said they're totally cool with it. It's no problem. You just, as long as you don't do anything illegal, you're not playing copyrighted materials or something like that, then they're cool with it.
Someone in the Hangout must have copied it and mailed it to him or something like that. Sent it a chat box, emailed it.
He didn't talk. He didn't have video. He just had his profile picture up. It was strange. When I post the Hangout video, you'll see. But I don't know. I mean, nothing against the guy. Maybe he just stumbled on it somehow and didn't chat or talk or anything. Or maybe it was a test from one of the other people who was trying to hack into it. You know what I mean? How are you? Ahoy.
Ahoy. How'd it go this evening?
It was great.
Good.
He was awesome. He was a fantastic guest. He was the humblest guy you could possibly meet. He's like, well, I don't consider myself a technical person, or, I'm not a visionary, I'm not a leader, all this stuff. And he's like a household name because he was a visionary who created this wonderful thing and led this team. And he's a very humble man who is in the very fortunate position of having a successful website that generates enough money for him to be able to focus on things like Bill Gates does. He's not that rich, but he's able to do good things that he wants to do. And I think for anyone who's ever created any kind of website and thought, man, I wish this would catch on, or it would be neat if people looked at my site, he's an inspiration to all of us, right? He did it. And it was great that he blessed us with, it's a useful site. I use it. In Lynchburg, I'll put an ad for an $8, $9 an hour position and get 40 responses in 4 hours.
Newspapers just love it.
Well, you know what? I use it because it's fast, because my papers are at minimum weekly.
Oh, no.
Or biweekly.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I mean, Craigslist is really one of the major reasons why the newspaper business is in big trouble right now. They were generating, I mean, especially like out here in California, the papers are there's nothing there, nothing to them anymore.
I mean, it's gutted classifieds, I think, is the point you're getting at.
That was a good money.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna debate you on that, Michael, because I can debate you because I own 3 newspapers, so I can. I will defend Craigslist as a newspaper publisher.
I'm not against it. I think it's great. And
but I'll debate that that's the reason that newspapers are having a problem. I'll be back. Y'all have a nice conversation. I'll be right back.
Alan, nice to see you. I never get to talk to you alone.
Uh-oh. Now
Are you on your ferry boat or your ship, or?
No, I'm not on the ferry this evening. I'm in a different non-standard location.
I thought maybe you're on a houseboat or something. You're always in some secret, undisclosed location.
Yes, this is in yet another undisclosed location.
Well, that's good. That's a good way to be. Good way to be. Did you hear about that airplane crash over in Virginia Beach?
I did. That is remarkable. I know. Last I heard, they were saying 7 or 9 people injured, but none fatal.
It's a miracle that nobody was killed. It's just incredible. Incredible.
And
those Navy jets don't do well when they quit on takeoff.
No, and what it sounds like, and just from the scraps that I've heard so far, it does sound like it was an automatic ejection, that the pilots basically were ejected before they knew what happened.
Oh, so they got kicked out without having to kick themselves out. Yeah, they're pretty low.
I mean,
they're pretty low.
Sounds like, and I'm by no means an expert, but from what I'm hearing, they are strongly suggesting that there was a mechanical failure on takeoff.
Yeah.
And they're obviously doing an investigation, but the preliminary guess is that it's a mechanical failure on takeoff. And I certainly would not be surprised if the plane automatically ejected them on such circumstances.
Yeah, well, they were pretty low. They were pretty low. But everybody
1 minute out of takeoff.
Everybody that was there
off the deck. So
they heard a pop, and that was probably the ejection seat blowing. Because basically what it is, it's a cannon under the seat. It's a cannon.
Yeah.
It really blows you out of there.
Yep.
But I was in the Navy in 1971, and I was stationed. I had a home right near Miramar Naval Air Station. And one of these jets took off. We were maybe 5 or 6 miles from the end of the runway, slightly off center line. But this jet lost power on taking off, and he ran into the side of our mesa. We live on the top of a mesa.
Oof.
And he ran into the mesa about 50 feet below the top. If he'd been 50 feet higher, he would have bulldozed about 20 houses.
I was when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, which is right across the river from right across the bay from Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
So we had this is disturbing. Like, it was F-15s.
Mm-hmm.
Was what was stationed at Langley for the most part. No, he wasn't off a carrier. He was off the training base at Norfolk. Yeah, I need to set the hotkeys for this. That's annoying. Okay, yet another feature I need to finish implementing.
Yeah, I'm trying to fill my time now that I'm retired. All kinds of. I'm busier now than before when I was working. I have more fun too.
That's good at least.
Yeah, I can dibble dabble in this for a couple hours, then dibble dabble over there, do a bunch of hanging out, write some articles.
Who's
Meet
chatting?
a lot of interesting people that are kind of I've never had time to get to know. Alan, you say I thought you're in Lynchburg, Alan, right? I mean, Dan.
No,
Dan?
Dan's in Lynchburg.
Dan, can
Hang
you
on
hear
for a second.
me? He can't hear me, I guess. I must move to Lynchburg. Came very close. So, Mike, where are you located?
I'm in San Diego.
Oh, yeah. That's where I used to.
I'm up in North County. I'm up mainly near Oceanside.
Oh, yeah.
About 10 miles inland.
Okay. That's good. We have friends in Fallbrook.
Oh,
And,
well, I'm in
I'm
Bond,
up.
the town next door.
Oh, that's pretty.
It's beautiful. This is horse country here.
I'm up in Riverside, so we're
Oh,
not
yeah.
too far away.
That's right.
I was in San Diego. I lived at University City before it was totally developed back in '71.
Oh, well, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I hate to say how long ago it was. I can't believe it. I just turned 68.
I went to military school in Pacific Beach. There used to be a place called Brown Military Academy in 1958.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I was stationed at Naval Training Center for a year, and I spent a year on a LPD carrier.
Oh, okay.
And I was at Balboa Naval Hospital, which at the time when I was there was called the Pink Palace. Now it's a huge, giant, typical government hospital.
Yeah, well, this area is so totally grown from what I remembered, even 10, 12 years ago. So.
Yeah, North County is a nice place to live, though. It's a pretty nice area there. I'd like to live down there.
The only problem is we don't have any water. That's the killer. My water bill here is about $175 a month.
Wow. Where do you get your water from down there?
Colorado River.
We get some of ours from the river here. I think most of it comes from the river. We've got a big water district here. I don't know.
If you're in Riverside, we're coming from the same place. It's a metropolitan water district. Feeds all this down here. But
what are you watering down there? Avocados or?
No, mainly ice plants, and it doesn't need much water.
That's interesting.
It's just that I've got a few avocados. I got some citrus.
Mm-hmm.
And but nothing in major. But it just, if I turn off the water, if I turn off the water, it's $100 a month anyway.
Uh-huh.
That's just the delivery fee. Even if I don't deliver anything.
Up here in Riverside, they still have parts of the town that use something called the Gage Canal. It's actually a canal that was built in the late 1800s that brings water up from the aquifer in San Bernardino, from the mountains where it runs off from the San Bernardino Mountains. It comes across an aqueduct and a canal, and most of the grows were watered through that canal. Very cheap. Like people pay about $10 a month for it.
Oh yeah.
Since the whole town's been developed, a lot of it's been shut down, and you have to water from the city water, and then it's a lot more expensive.
Well, I have a rental up in Sacramento area, and up there they still got flat rate. You pay your water once a year because it was all agricultural, and they're battling like mad to get everybody on meters, but of course people are fighting back.
Yeah, that's the way it was out here in Riverside maybe 40, 50 years ago, too. You had an allotment. You paid $10 a month, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, I think Southern California, that's going to be the problem of the future, is because there's not really any new sources coming up. Carlsbad's in the process of getting a desalinization plant moving. And
well, out in the desert, I used to live in Palm Desert. They've had some problems. They had actually part of the Colorado water allotment to California went away, and that's probably why your rates went up.
Right.
They had
Right.
they had to reapportion things for the Imperial Valley. They
Well,
used a lot of
Mexico was
water for
getting kind of
irrigation.
upset that they were getting nothing.
Yeah, yeah, the end of the Colorado River now is a sandbar.
Oh yeah, yeah. You look at it on Google Earth, and it's nothing. There's no water there. It's just
No.
dirt. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's all these people living in a desert.
Yeah, I think California was not built to sustain the number of people that are here.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah. Even really. I mean, if you go inland here another 5 miles, I mean, it's high desert, and there's
right.
not a lot that makes it very attractive. And when you go back a little ways, and there's all this beautiful greenery and everything, but that's all been artificially brought in.
That's right. Same thing here in Riverside.
Yeah.
We had hardly any snow cover this year in the mountains here.
I think that's true throughout the state. In fact, I guess they just finally got some snow like a week or 2 weeks ago up in Northern California. They expect that they're going to have a reasonable snowpack, but they were.
Yeah. That's not good for the water. It's not going to be much snowpack there.
No.
To melt.
Yeah. Interesting.
Alan's hard at work. Dan's hard at work there. What's he doing?
I'm posting. Here's what I got. Here's the latest Google Plus week with Craigslist founder and Silicon Valley legend Craig Newmark. Thanks so much to Craig Newmark, a humble man who motivates me and many of us. Craig was great. Please check out his awesome new site, craigconnects.org. It's going to make a difference. How's that?
That's nice.
Sounds
good.
Yeah.
It was so sobering tonight, Alan, without you here. Yeah.
That's really funny, considering that most people, a bunch of people have seen the Facebook Week show that we did, and they're like,
yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
And they're like, why are you acting like that? Because I don't act like that normally.
But you do get, like Oleg will go off on some crazy thing, and you'll be like, in the thumbnail, and then you'll come up like, no, you do that. Both of you guys are.
There's certain chemistry between Alan and Oleg. Let's face it.
They make the show. And
I mean, what's funny though is that's very much not my personality. Otherwise,
you barely hung out. You never hung out until you came to my show, just because you were pissed off at us, right?
I mean, I did a little, but not much.
You're kind of a subtle guy who takes ferries to Connecticut and stuff.
It's not to Connecticut. It's in Massachusetts, Dan.
I know. I always say Connecticut.
Massachusetts? How can you say he's from Connecticut? My gosh, I'd be insulted, Alan. I'm from Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Dan, I almost moved to Lynchburg. I had an opportunity to buy a practice up there at one time, and I came that close to moving.
Really?
Yeah.
It's an interesting city. It's a city of
nice.
70,000.
It's pretty.
It is. There's a lot of crime. It's a city of 70,000 people in a 49 square mile radius, and then 250,000 people in the surrounding area or more. 4,500 different businesses there. A big nuclear presence. A lot of nuclear plant companies like Areva are there, and Babcock and Wilcox, and that kind of thing. Or I guess they're not anymore, but. It's a mixture of poverty and old money and well-paid scientist types, and it's an interesting town. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, look Bruce Turner up, who's on the show tonight. He lives there. If you ever were thinking about it again, go down there and grab a burger or a cup of coffee with Bruce or something. And check it out. But it's interesting. One of my papers is down there.
No, I'm beyond relocating anymore. It's sort of past that time for me. It was 20 years ago or so that I considered that. I'm probably stuck here in Riverside now forever. I just kind of put my roots down here finally.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm going to chug along here. Alan, nice to get to talk to you. Sorry, Oleg.
Always good to chat with you.
Sorry, Oleg's not here.
Oleg leaves right after the show.
It's tough on Easter, Easter, Christmas, and stuff. When we have a show that bumps up against the holiday, it's tough to.
Yeah, I know. It's tough with Passover too, right, Alan?
Yeah.
Pass the matzah. See you guys later.
All right,
Take
take
care.
care, Gary. Thanks. All right, let me get this post up here. Let me see.
So I'm glad the show went well, Dan.
Oh, it was good. It was good. It was good. He was great. He's like the most humble dude.
Hey Dan, I got a question. What do you it's my first time that I've been on with you, but I followed you as you've developed your Hangouts. Is this going to work long term? It's a great idea.
What's going to work? Google Plus?
The whole idea of the Hangouts and Plus, it's not a lot of participation. And
Alan, okay, let me respond briefly, and then Alan is going to explode. Absolutely, it is a game-changing thing. It is, to the Facebook people, it's the best-kept secret in the world. I'll give you an example. I did a hangout with my staff, because I've said before, I'm currently expanding my inside sales team. I'm hiring a new one Monday, and then I'm looking for a couple more. And they come in the office, they're on the phone calling businesses to buy ads. And anyway, so I wanted to, we're doing some special sections in the paper, and I wanted to have a meeting about it. And so I got my salespeople in different places, the retail salespeople. I wanted to get them on the same page, and then the inside salesperson, and then the layout team. So we're talking like 5 or 6 different people, and as far as who actually participated in this one, because I was like calling right away trying to get them in. So all of them were doing their first Google Hangout. I had creative types, Apple types. I had techies. I had complete non-techies. And I showed them, we were all in there, and they saw how whoever's talking goes to the prominent window, and then somebody else talks, and they do, and how you can share a screen, that the layout guy can show an ad as they're developing it and ask a question of the salesperson and move it from here. Do you like this color, this color? Like, oh, I like that one. And they were all like, wow, this is amazing. They had no idea. They somehow missed the Muppets commercial, and they were shocked. But I had to kind of teach them how to do it, and it was a little cumbersome for them, but not too bad. So it's not. It absolutely is a killer app. It is absolutely huge, and not just for people like me who do radio or television or whatever and create shows using this as a vehicle to bring in a shot and to get engagement, but for just people hanging out. And you can do it on your phone. Absolutely, it's huge. It's massive.
No, it's a great idea, but the problem is, number one is exposure. A lot of people don't know it exists, and I've got a lot of friends, especially the younger generation. They're all avid Facebook users, and you try and tout Google Plus, and they spend it. They'll try it out and say, "Gee, I'm in Facebook. Why do I want to do that?"
Yeah, but you could say the same thing about computers and the internet when we were kids.
You could say the same thing about Facebook 4 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I agree with you completely, but the problem is, fortunately, Google's behind Plus, therefore they've got staying power. If this was a startup, I would, doubt that it's going to survive.
I think it really just boils down to it's getting the word out. It's understanding the killer app. You got to remember, Facebook didn't really start getting critical mass until Farmville. And Farmville was Facebook's killer app. If it wasn't for Farmville, nobody would be using Facebook.
Well,
that's really what it boils down to. Facebook has a lot of good features, but nobody would have gone looking for it without some reason for them to go there. Without Facebook's killer app.
Right.
Hangouts are Google Plus's killer app. People will be coming to Google Plus for Hangouts, and more people are.
That's great. I think it's a necessity because it's a terrific app. And
you asked what's the future. I think we are really only beginning to see the tiniest understanding of how we can use Hangouts.
Well, if you look at Twit and what Leo's done over there,
To be honest, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love what Dan is doing.
Right.
I'm here every week. Obviously, I love what Dan is doing. But what we've got going here are a bunch of talking heads.
Right.
And there is so much more that can be done with Hangouts. And bit by bit, people are doing them. As you see that happening more and more. And I think the apps are taking us one more step towards that. I think some of the things they put into the Hangouts, the sharing, is one more step toward that. I think bit by bit we're going to be seeing Hangouts developing stuff that is just going to make us today go, oh, wow. I mean, for example, I don't know if you know M. Monica.
No.
What she is doing with Hangouts is far and away beyond what everyone else is doing.
Really?
She is holding dramatic readings in a Hangout. So, she's doing drama through a Hangout. Well, the rest of us are doing talk shows and cooking shows and news shows. She's doing theatrical performances.
Right.
She does what she calls a Lego Hangout, where people will go into the Hangout and build Lego figures. She's just, while the rest of us are doing news and teaching and business, she is making Hangout shows that are fun. And I think, Hangouts is people just kind of sitting around a cafe table is fun. That's great and fine, but it's not something you're going to want to put on YouTube. What she is aiming for are things you'll want to put on YouTube and watch. Things that people will want to come and watch. I think it's things like that that are really going to start pushing, that are an avenue of Hangouts that I think are ready to explode. And I think the young people have been discovering Hangouts more and more, and they're coming over because of that.
That's possible. Again, I think that part of the problem is that the infrastructure that Facebook has got in place keeps people from, they don't want to be in both places.
No, and that's a problem. But I guess what it boils down to for me is people need a compelling reason to come here instead of there. Right. And it's going to be instead of. Because you're right, people are not going to tend to want to be on both people will dabble in one and live on the other. And right now people are living on Facebook and dabbling with Google+.
Right.
I think more and more you're going to see the momentum starting to build here.
I would hope so. But, my experience has been with friends and acquaintances is that they'll take a look and they see no immediate benefit and all their attention is back to Facebook.
Exactly. And immediate benefit, I say compelling reason, but it's the same thing. Let me ask you something. Why do you think people should be here?
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the plus idea. I think I have a Facebook presence, but I don't use it. I don't listen to it. Most of the stuff I get, I just ignore.
Well, let me keep reframing that. And I don't work for Google or anything. This is a personal interest project of mine. You say you like the whole plus idea. How is the whole plus idea different than the whole Facebook idea?
Oh, not a whole lot, but it started off the idea of the circles, which Facebook has now copied.
But have they copied? Everyone says that, but Facebook has had groups for a very long time.
That's true, but it was, to me, I like the circles seem to be a more practical application and implementation. It was easy to implement. My major interest in Plus is the photography side. That's why I'm in it. And I think it's a terrific shared interest platform. And it lends itself. I don't care what you had for lunch. But if you're a professional photographer, I'm really interested in your work that you do and what you're willing to share with me.
I kind of guessed that from the tripod. I was going to ask about
real quick. The difference is what you had for lunch is what Twitter was, I guess. Now Twitter's basically evolving into a source for news. That's why vastly many more people are following than posting their own things.
Right.
Facebook is where your wife and sister tell you what time to show up for Thanksgiving dinner, and all that fun stuff. You know, family, close, real friends.
Right.
Google Plus is where you discover people. We're having an intelligent, interesting conversation, at least to me. I've met Alan here. I've met you now here.
Right.
Facebook is, or Google Plus is for discovering and meeting new friends who share your interests and as Guy Kawasaki said, your passion. That's what Google Plus' real killer app is. It's how you discover new people who share your interests.
One of the problems.
Dan, here's the problem.
People that aren't looking.
Dan, there are two problems with that, though. The first is you can do that on Facebook. And the second is a lot of people aren't interested in doing that.
I'm not going to find some random guy in Botswana who shares my obscure interest on Facebook. Come on.
Sure you are.
Oh, I haven't.
No, Dan. I mean, I have friends who do obscure things like urban chicken farming.
Why doesn't that surprise me? I'm just kidding.
Because you heard me talking with Eric about chicken farming.
The quality of people here. If you're a smart guy or creative guy or a woman, you know, this is the place. It kind of weeds out. And
we say that, but it's not
like us.
Dan, we say that, but it's not entirely true. I mean, if you go to Facebook and you look at, say, Trey Radcliffe or Thomas Hawk, they're on Facebook, and they've got a metric buttload of followers.
So Scoble, yeah, same thing.
And it's a huge, I mean, there's a huge photography community there.
Oh, yeah.
And Facebook's copying or has introduced new features inspired by, by Google Plus, and vice versa. You know, they're all stealing from each other, and it makes everybody stronger. I think this will emerge. This will never. I'll let Michael or Alan talk, but Michael, this will never replace Facebook or Twitter. They're very different. All three services are different. This really fills a new void. It's a new kind of community. It's a new place. It's cool. It's still evolving. Like you said,
I disagree. I mean, Dan, I disagree with you. It's not inherently clear to me why the Google Plus community is inherently different than the Facebook community. I think they both started from different angles, but they're arriving at more or less the same place.
The gap will definitely narrow as more people adopt Google Plus. Because
I don't think it has anything to do with adopting Google Plus. I mean, I think that's the problem, actually. Google Plus really hasn't differentiated itself to most people. It's barely differentiated itself to me, to be honest.
I mean, that is a problem. How does Plus differentiate itself instead of saying that we're another Facebook? Because if that's what people want, particularly.
That's a good point. Well, part of it is people don't necessarily know what they want. People do.
Yeah, no, that's the bottom line. And the other thing is, people don't necessarily want to meet new and exciting people.
Exactly.
They just want to communicate with grandma.
Exactly. I think what Google needs to show is, the problem is Google needs to do two major things. They need to be able to create an environment where if you want to do things with your friends and family, you can easily do things with your friends and family. And at the same time, they need to create an environment where if you want to hang with people who have a common interest, you can hang with people that have a common interest. Right. That is the real nature of existing real space social networks. It's not something that Facebook has captured very well yet, but they're getting better at it.
They're evolving.
And it has nothing to do with stealing features from Google+, it's just they're getting better at it.
Right. Well, the Facebook focus is not, I think, where Google Plus started from. You know, their initial ideas were built on a different basis. And,
I disagree. I think Google Plus started out by saying Facebook, basically by trying to steal Facebook and adding a couple of features that were important. And when people got here, I think what it is when people got here, they couldn't treat Google Plus the same as Facebook. So they ended up doing something different, and it caught Google by surprise.
Okay, that may be the case. I mean, because again, I was a latecomer to Google Plus. I didn't get my invite until it was almost off and running. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Google, I'm pretty sure they even stated that there are more public posts than they ever expected there to be.
Oh,
They expected, what they were expecting with Google Plus was that it was going to be mostly private, circle-based posts.
right.
And it caught them completely by surprise when people mostly used it to post publicly. And people were posting publicly because they had nobody, their friends weren't over here. So the only thing they could do was post publicly.
Which is its benefit as far as I'm concerned. I mean, keeping it open is very, because that's how you expand your horizons.
It's very much changed the nature of it, which is why I think it caught them by surprise. Because go look at the login page for Google Plus, for example. It doesn't talk about following people. It doesn't talk about public posts. It doesn't talk about the dynamic nature of sharing. It doesn't talk about curating content. It doesn't talk about finding interest groups. It talks about sharing with friends and family.
Yeah, well, that's Facebook.
But that's Facebook, right? And everyone's saying, well, this is the big thing about Google Plus is that it's not Facebook. It doesn't, my family isn't there. Right. And it's like, look, the reason, you got to realize Google wanted your family to be here. They just didn't agree.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean that's the confusing part in some ways about Google Plus is it's got a bit of an identity crisis.
Absolutely. And I just hope that they manage to push through this whole thing and come up with a user base and user enthusiasm that can keep it right there in the forefront of what's happening in social. Because there's a need for it.
Well, I think even more, they really need to push ahead. I mean, right now, I don't, again, there just isn't anything compelling to a lot of people that says why you need to be here.
Well, we don't know what the next compelling thing is, to be honest, because that's tomorrow. And,
right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of speculation about what the next compelling thing is. They need to be able to do things like really, really, really good integration with Calendar. And by really, really good, I mean it needs to be easy. It needs to be more than just you're sharing a calendar item. It's got to be tied into events. It's got to be tied into pages. It's got to be tied into photo albums. It's got to be tied into circles. It's got to be a lot of things. And once you do that, you start to address some of the critics who are saying things like, hey, you need to be able to post your birthdays on Google+. Right. You need to have birthday notices. You need to have events. You start tying it into Calendar and you get all this stuff. And then you start tying that into the photos, and you start tying it into the spreadsheet, and you tying it into Docs, and you start tying it into Gmail. And, they keep saying that Google+ is really it's the social glue behind all of Google. They need to prove it, because right now it's not.
Right. No, you're right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think what they've done so far is great.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to win this, and they say they're not going to lose, if they're going to win this, they need to push this stuff out a lot more than they have. I know we're only 9 months old.
Right.
I know there's a lot that could be done, but they keep saying, yeah, we're going to do this. They need to do it. They need to really, really come out with the features.
Well, I think Google is still in flux as far as their real goals of where they want to go, where they want to put their emphasis. I don't think they've really decided how they want to do this.
Well, I think that's a problem, to be honest.
I think so too. I mean, I think, when you saw the switch of management, basically their philosophy has changed somewhat, and what their focus is has changed also.
Yeah, yes and no.
No, but I mean, I think in the case, and I mean, a lot of it is just you're in a dynamic business. You have to change. You can't be static and let it be. But I think this is a very dynamic business that they really don't have a clear. Here's what we're going to end up as. I think they're discovering this and inventing this as they go along.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. Anyway, I need to sign off. Dan, are you still there?
He was a minute ago, but I think he's backed off. So
yeah, but sometimes he actually hears people talking.
Yeah, I don't hear him or see him.
No, he turned the speaker off. I saw him on the cell phone a minute ago.
By the way, where are you?
I'm currently in New York.
Oh, city, upstate?
I just say New York.
Oh, okay. I mean, I lived in New York for a few years.
What part?
Up in the Hudson Valley, up in Hyde Park.
Oh yeah, I know Hyde Park.
Oh yeah.
I go to the. How often did you go to the Hyde Park Drive-In?
Oh, yeah, quite often.
Yeah.
The Roosevelt Theater. You ever remember that?
I know it's just down the block from the Roosevelt Theater. No, I go to the Drive-In every so often. It's still open.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, the Roosevelt. I was a kid when I was there, also, and those are the days when theaters had cry rooms in it. Where you had a little kid. You didn't sit down and disturb the people. You had your own little private thing built in the back wall of the theater, and I'll never forget that.
See, I've been through Hyde Park a couple of times.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I still have some family back there, but I get back there every couple of years. But it's not where I want to live anymore. I don't like the weather.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to sign off.
Okay, we've been talking at you.
Good talking to you. Dan, if you can hear me, I will catch you again another time. And if you can't hear me, I'll still catch you again another time. Oh, here he is.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan.
Well, he's on the phone, it looks like.
Yeah.
He's talking. You can see his hand talking there.
Talk to the hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a good evening.
Right.